Hey, what's going on, everyone? You got TMNT Raphael with Glazed Game Gestures. I brought out my Nintendo Mini, and my Famicom along with accessories and games, and I'd like to discuss what I came with you guys. All right. So, this is obviously the official Nintendo. I like the color, I like the weight. I think it's a little too heavy comparative to the Famicom here, although it's just an iconic piece of work, and it's nice that it has the RF cable as well as the AV cables. It's super handy to have the AV cables because they also can hook up to the Super Famicom as well as the Super Nintendo. I like that the garage or gate or whatever you'd like to call it, that it can open and close as well as the Famicom one can too, but while the game is in there, it obviously stays open. This one you can close, so therefore while you're playing it and it's turned on, you can't pull the cartridge out. Well, I mean, you can, you might ruin the game. But anyway, in other words, this kind of negates the fact that while it's being on, you can't disturb the gameplay. This is on, you can disturb the gameplay when the cartridge is in there. You can pull it out. This, you can't. Anyway, I digress. I like the Famicom controllers. My thing that I don't like about it is that it's wired to the system. I like the size, I like the color, I like the red and gold. It's reflective, it's super cool. There's a volume control on player 2, and on player 1 there is not a volume control. It's just interesting because there's a microphone here compared to this one here. I like this controller more so than the iconic Nintendo controller. Look, I know it's probably considered blasphemy because this is what we know here in America compared to this, but I like how this one just feels. I really do. And I mean, this is a great piece of hardware. The D-pad, it's a little sticky. It could be my controller. Not necessarily sticky, it's more stiff compared to, I feel like the loose D-pad on the NES, or excuse me, the Famicom is just, it's wonderful. And I like the smaller black convex, or is it concave? It's concave buttons comparative to the concave buttons on the Nintendo. It's cool that it's matte. I like the reflective. I just think it's cooler, although I do like the fact that this is wireless, because then the Nintendo noticed that to benefit themselves, they decided to make other points of controllers, and they added on. You know, I have here the NES Max. I love this thing. Excuse me, I know it's wired, or coiled up. I just find it easier to store that way. I like the concept of the very first kind of joysticky D-pad, as well as the introduction of the turbo sticks, or the buttons. It's kind of nice because it does remind me of, like, you know, a precursor to the Super Nintendo, because I feel like up here, this looks like where the LNR kind of should be. It's a really cool, futuristic Nintendo controller, you know, kind of pointing a fact to maybe a future joystick, kind of like the N64 per se. It's just a really cool piece of work. I like that they kind of went with a smaller design, kind of like how small this is. I just feel like the joystick, it doesn't really work that well. It's a cool idea, but it's not the best. Now, the color of the Famicom, I really think is a much cooler color, that beige, rather than like the gray. I feel like the gray is just, I don't know, it's like a hospital wardroom or something. But I like the inside too, where the pins go. It's blue. I know it's a little hard to see. I apologize. But, I mean, the name is just cool too. I think the Famicom compared to the Nintendo Entertainment System. Nothing against the Nintendo Entertainment System. This thing it's a great piece of hardware. You know, I got this, I think, for 70 bucks on OfferUp, I believe. And then I got this, I think, 30 bucks as well on OfferUp. This one was shipped to me. This one I went in person. The vent is much bigger compared to this vent. I like that. It's a great idea. It's a great concept. I like the eject system here. The spring still works. This one you kind of obviously have to push down and pull the cartridge out. Speaking of which, the cartridge, it's an iconic piece of work. It's a great cartridge. It's just, no, actually, hang on. And Dragon Pair is a pretty cool game. It's the, you know, essentially the Dragon Ball Z game in America, because we weren't really familiar with Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z yet. I like the lip on it, the fact that you can put it in, you know, the system and pull it out. You obviously push down to play it. Anyway, we all know that, right? The Famicom, console, excuse me, the game cartridge it's I think also an iconic piece of you know, artwork. It's super small. I really like the Japanese artwork. This is B-Wings. It's a vertical shmup, shooter, shoot 'em up, whatever you prefer to call it. You know, it's all the same to me. It still plays the same. You know, you just put it in and pull it out. That's what she said, right? All right, anyway, bad joke. All right. And then the one thing I don't like, because I know it's with the RF switch, channel 1 or channel 2 delegates, or not delegates, excuse me, it is related to our station, what, 95 and 96, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sure somebody's going to correct me on the comments. That's fine. I like that it says TV and game on the back. The AC adapter, it's all there. The same RF switch and AC adapter also work on this. If those of you who play and own these and did not know that, you can save yourself a couple bucks or just buy another one. It's not that big of a deal. Now, I love this piece of equipment. The NES Mini is wonderful. I have a wireless controller hooked up by my arcade. I love this thing. It takes 2 AAA batteries and it just hooks up well. It just feels well. I like the little lips on the back. You know, it's just a wonderful piece of equipment. Compared to the original controller, it's obviously weighing a little less because the cord's still attached and so forth, and I mean, it even looks relatively the same except for the home button in the middle, and I like the squared off buttons, and I like that they're relatively flat. It still has the original matte look. The buttons are glossy, and the D-pad's kind of a cross between the Famicom controllers as well as the Nintendo controllers, in my opinion, of course, but it just feels right. I mean, and if you hack these things, this thing is just, it's the Mustang of the minis, I guess. Maybe not the Mustang. Another muscle car inserted here in that bad joke. I do have the original NES wired controller that goes with this, but it's only, what, like 2-3 feet long? I mean, do you really want to sit that close to a flat screen TV with HDMI? You know, I don't. And me personally, I actually play both of these, original consoles on HD TV, whether it be a 20-inch to my 42-inch, and whether it be 720p or 1080p, who cares? You could still play the game. Like, it does not bother me whether it's a CRT or not. I think it's cool that regardless whether it's something that's emulated or you own the original cartridge, the fact that you're playing the game, that, tip my hat to you. I nod to you that, you have a wondrous way of choosing to play video games. Anyway, now, this thing, I love this thing because, yeah, admittedly, I have it hacked. I don't have any links in any particular description to give you guys to use whatever outlet you'd like to download ROMs and play these games. But I have hacked on here Game Boy, Game Boy Color, PC Engine, TurboGrafx 16, Core Graphics, because some games are similar, some games are different. I have some Game Boy Advance games on here, and they actually run pretty well. I mean, I do own a Game Boy Advance, and I still have my Fire Emblems, and I also have the hacked versions of the Fire Emblems, which I enjoy, and I have the actual cartridge. It's not hacked on here, but I digress. And this thing is just wonderful. I think I have, like, I don't know, probably 650 games on here with still plenty of space left, because there's like 500 megabytes of space, give or take, something on there, 530, and I think I have like 330 megabytes used or something. So there's definitely more than enough space to still put whatever I'd like to put on there, and then some, whether it be arcade games or Dreamcast or whatever. But Dreamcast might be kind of funky on something like this, but what is cool about this is you can always hook up your Super Nintendo Mini console controllers into this as well, especially when I'm playing a Game Boy Advance. I like to do that because that way I can use the L and R. But I mean, TurboGrafx look wonderful on this. The Game Boy games look wonderful on this. I have no lag. Everything works just as it should. I have all the necessary games that I like to play on this, and then some. This is my... I'll put this in my pocket and I'll walk away. No, I'm just kidding. It's a wonderful piece of equipment, and both of these, 8-bit systems are just iconic. It's just, I love the red bottom. I like the little rubber pads that it has on the bottom. Granted, I don't speak, whether it be, Cantonese, Mandarin, or, excuse me, that's Chinese, not Japanese. I knew that. The bottom on this is great too. I like the bigger rubber buttons. I just find it much easier to take out if I decide that I want to go in here and, mess around with the hardware, which I probably won't unless I really need to. But, these are just great pieces of work, and it's a part of history, video gaming, and I'd like to talk about it as often as I can with whoever I can. Thank you for listening.